Let me paint you a picture. It's 9 a.m. on a Monday. 24-year-old Brad walks into the glass headquarters of a Fortune 500 company. He's wearing a navy suit that costs more than your rent. He has a MacBook, a rolling suitcase, and absolutely 0 years of experience in the industry he's about to fix. He sits down across from a CEO who has spent 30 years building this company from scratch. And Brad opens his laptop, pulls up a PowerPoint with a 2x2 matrix on it, and proceeds to explain how the business should be run. And here's the wild part. The CEO listens, because Brad's firm is charging $500,000 for this engagement. And somewhere along the way, America decided that the price tag is the credential. So who is Brad? Brad is a consultant. And today, we're going to figure out what he actually does all day, why companies keep paying for it, and whether any of it means anything at all. Let's start with the scale of this thing, because most people don't realize how absolutely enormous the consulting industry has become. The global management consulting market is worth over $300 billion a year. That's larger than the GDP of countries like Portugal, New Zealand, and Finland. There are more consultants in the United States than there are active duty soldiers. Let that sit for a moment. McKinsey, Bain, and Boston Consulting Group together employ roughly 70,000 people and generate revenues in the tens of billions annually. And those are just the tip of the iceberg. Below them sit Deloitte, PwC, Accenture, KPMG, and 1,000 boutique firms. How did we get here? Because this wasn't always a thing. Management consulting as a distinct profession barely existed before the 1920s. Booz Allen Hamilton launched in 1914. McKinsey followed in 1926. In the early decades, consultants were largely engineers and accountants, solving concrete technical problems. Straightforward work, practical solutions. Then, the 1980s happened. Reagan-era deregulation, the rise of business schools, and a new corporate obsession with shareholder value created the perfect storm. Companies ballooned in size and complexity. CEOs began to feel out of their depth. Consulting firms arrived with a persuasive pitch. We have a framework for that. The business school pipeline became the engine. McKinsey recruited heavily from Harvard, Wharton, Stanford. The message was unmistakable. The smartest people in the country don't build things. They advise the people who build them, and they get paid handsomely to do so. By the 1990s, consulting had evolved from a service into a status symbol. Hiring McKinsey signaled to boards, investors, and competitors that you were serious, modern, and capable of affording the best. It became shorthand for excellence. Which brings us to the first and most candid thing consultants actually sell: confidence. Let's get back to Brad. Brad graduated from Penn 2 years ago with a 3.9 GPA, did a consulting internship junior year, and now makes $110,000 base salary plus bonuses at a Tier 1 firm. He has never managed a team, run a P&L, hired or fired anyone, or dealt with an actual operational crisis. But he has built a lot of very clean slides. Brad's current engagement is with a mid-sized manufacturing company in Ohio. The client, let's call them Midwest Industrial, makes industrial parts. They've been around for 60 years. They have 4,000 employees. And they are paying Brad's firm $2 million to help them figure out why their margins are shrinking. Here is Brad's Monday. He wakes up at 6 a.m. in a Marriott that the client is paying for. He goes to the hotel gym for exactly 35 minutes. He eats the continental breakfast. He opens his laptop and reviews the slide deck he was building until midnight last night. There are 47 slides about the manufacturing sector. Brad has never set foot in a factory before this engagement. He gets to the client's office by 8:30. He sits in a conference room with 2 other junior consultants from his team, and they spend the morning doing something called benchmarking, which means they look at what other companies in the industry are doing and paste it into a slide with a bar chart. The bar chart will later be presented to the CEO as competitive landscape analysis. After lunch, Brad conducts stakeholder interviews. This is where he sits down with actual Midwest Industrial employees who've been doing their jobs for 20 years and asks them questions about their job. The employees explain exactly what's wrong. Problems are usually pretty obvious from the inside. Brad writes their answers in a notebook. He will later repackage these answers, launder them through a few frameworks and acronyms, and present them back to senior leadership in a deck that costs $2 million. Is that cynical? Maybe. But it is also, in many documented cases, almost exactly what happens. There's actually a name for this in consulting circles. It's called borrowing your watch to tell you the time. The consultants extract knowledge from your own employees, synthesize it into a document with a lot of nice fonts, and hand it back to leadership as if it's original insight. The afternoon is spent in what consultants call work sessions, which are meetings. But not regular meetings. These are meetings with an agenda document, a parking lot for off-topic ideas, and designated time for alignment. Alignment is when everyone agrees to agree, which is different from actually agreeing, which is different from actually doing anything. By 7 p.m., Brad is back at the Marriott, ordering room service on the client's expense account and building more slides. He will fly home on Thursday evening. He will be back Monday morning. This goes on for 4 months. Okay, I know what you're thinking. This sounds like an elaborate scam, and some of it is, but some of it isn't, and it's worth being honest about that. There are a few things consulting firms genuinely provide that are harder to dismiss. The first is outside perspective. When you've been inside an organization for a long time, you develop blind spot. You've normalized dysfunction. You've stopped questioning the way things are done, because that's just how they're done. A fresh set of eyes, even young ones, even ones that don't fully understand your industry, can sometimes see what everyone inside has stopped seeing. This is real. It's just also worth about $15,000, not $2 million. The second is political cover. And this one is actually kind of fascinating. CEOs often already know what needs to happen. They need to cut a business unit or restructure a team or make an unpopular decision. But if they announce it internally, it looks personal. It looks political. People get upset. So they hire McKinsey. McKinsey independently discovers that yes, the recommendation is to cut that business unit, and suddenly it's not the CEO's fault, it's just what the data says. Consultants in this scenario are not problem solvers. They are very expensive human shields. The third thing consulting sells is a particular kind of smart-sounding language. EBITDA optimization, synergy realization, go-to-market acceleration, value chain disaggregation. These phrases don't always mean much, but they mean something important symbolically. They signal that you are a modern, sophisticated organization that talks about problems in modern, sophisticated ways. In corporate America, sounding rigorous is often mistaken for being rigorous. And here is where things get genuinely interesting. There's a feedback loop built into the consulting industry that almost nobody talks about. Consulting firms don't just advise companies, they recruit the people who run companies. McKinsey alumni are everywhere in corporate America. They are CEOs, CFOs, board members, and when those people need help, who do they call? McKinsey. The industry has essentially colonized the class of people who hire the industry. It's a closed loop, dressed up as an open market. Now let's talk about the stuff the brochures don't mention, because when consulting goes wrong, it goes spectacularly wrong. McKinsey's most famous scandal involves Purdue Pharma. McKinsey advised Purdue for years, including helping them develop strategies to, and I want to be precise here, turbocharge OxyContin sales. At a time when the opioid crisis was already killing tens of thousands of Americans per year. In 2021, McKinsey agreed to pay nearly $600 million in settlements to resolve investigations by almost every state in the country. Not a single partner faced criminal charges. The firm issued an apology and moved on. There's also the case of the post office in the UK, where consulting-driven decisions around a software system called Horizon led to the wrongful prosecution of over 700 sub-postmasters for financial discrepancies that were actually caused by the faulty system. It's considered one of the biggest miscarriages of justice in British legal history. Consultants were involved in recommending and defending the implementation throughout. And closer to home, there's a pattern that researchers have actually documented. Companies that go through major consulting-led restructurings often don't perform better afterward. A study of consulting-led downsizing found that many companies saw short-term cost reductions, followed by long-term damage to morale, institutional knowledge, and innovation capacity. The consultants are usually gone by the time the second part happens. This is the dirty secret of the engagement model. Consulting firms are paid for deliverables, not outcomes. They hand you the report. They do not stick around to see if the report was right. If it wasn't, well, that sounds like a new engagement. Brad, to his credit, is not thinking about any of this. Brad is 24. Brad is thinking about his performance review. So if much of what we've described is at least partially true, why does the industry keep expanding? Why do virtually every large company and every nervous CEO keep dialing the same number? Part of the answer lies in incentives. The executives who authorize these engagements rarely bear the full political or financial cost of a flop. A CEO who brings in an elite firm looks proactive. If the play succeeds, the CEO gets credit. If it fails, the consultants wear the blame. The optics are tidy, the downside is diffused, and a multi-million-dollar fee can feel like a rounding error on a corporate balance sheet. And then there is a simpler truth. Sometimes consulting actually works. Not always, and not consistently. Successes are celebrated loudly. Failures are quietly buried or rationalized. That combination of misaligned incentives, eroding internal capacity, and intermittent wins is what keeps the consulting machine humming. They borrow your watch to tell you the time. They build very expensive slides. They give cover to decisions that were already made. They occasionally spot something nobody inside could see, and they sometimes, in the worst cases, help companies do things that probably shouldn't be done at all. And Brad? Brad will make partner in 6 years if things go well. He will then bill at $800 an hour, and a new cohort of 24-year-olds will do the actual work. And those 24-year-olds will fly to Ohio on Monday morning, sit in a conference room, and ask a 30-year veteran how their job works. The cycle continues. The invoice goes out. And somewhere in a Marriott, on a per diem, a slide deck is being built that will change absolutely nothing.